I never believed a dog could save my life until he did. I never thought a dog could change my life. To me, dogs were just pets, companions for people who wanted something warm to come home to, maybe someone to walk with, but never something that would shape the core of who I was. That changed the day my husband, Ethan, surprised me with a German shepherd named Atlas. "It'll make the house feel less empty while I'm gone," he said as he handed me the leash. Ethan traveled often for work, international business deals, back-to-back flights, and I had grown used to the silence he left behind. Atlas was supposed to be a guard dog, a living security system. At first, I treated him like one. I fed him, walked him, and occasionally muttered a few words, but I wasn't someone who leaned on animals for comfort. I had grown used to solitude. I didn't think I needed anything more than a locked door and a good book to get through the nights. But loneliness has a way of creeping into the corners of a quiet home. Atlas never barked without reason. He followed me from room to room, his quiet presence a constant I hadn't expected. I started noticing little things. How he'd rest his head on my foot when I sat too long in silence. How he'd watch me with those wise, unblinking eyes, like he knew I was hurting. One rainy night, the storm shook the windows, and the shadows seemed darker than usual. I tried to lock the back door, but the key wouldn't budge. Panic set in. My hands trembled. Ethan was halfway across the world. I was completely alone. Then I felt a nudge at my arm. Atlas was there, calm, steady. Without hesitation, he walked toward a kitchen drawer and pawed at it. Curious, I opened it. Tucked beneath old receipts was a spare key I had long forgotten. I stood there stunned, unsure how he knew. That night, I sat beside him on the floor, petting his fur, tears slipping down my cheeks. For the first time in a long while, I felt safe, truly safe. Weeks passed. I started speaking to Atlas as if he understood me, because, in a way, he did. He was always listening. He always knew when I needed comfort. He positioned himself between me and the door when strangers came. He'd nuzzle me when I was anxious, lie beside me when I couldn't sleep. I told him about my days, my fears, my dreams, things I hadn't even told Ethan. Atlas never interrupted, never judged, just stayed, and then something happened that changed everything. One evening, as I returned from the grocery store, I noticed a black car parked across the street. Its engine idled, but no one got out. The next day, it was there again. And the day after that, my instincts screamed that something wasn't right. Atlas became more alert. He stayed close, ears perked, muscles tense. One night I heard a noise outside my bedroom window, a soft shuffle, the crunch of gravel. I froze. Atlas growled low, his eyes fixed on the darkness. A sharp bark echoed into the night, then hurried footsteps. Whoever had been there was gone. I called Ethan the next morning. He sounded concerned, but distant. "I'll try to fly back," he said. But I wasn't holding my breath. I installed cameras, reinforced the locks. Every evening, Atlas and I did rounds around the house, together. Then one day I saw him, the man from the car, tall, lean, hanging back near the corner of our street, pretending to chat with a neighbor. Something about him made my skin crawl. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Ramsey, later mentioned, "That's Luke. He says he's part of the neighborhood watch." But my gut knew better. So did Atlas. That night, the fear was tangible. I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me sit up straight. And then I heard it. The soft click of the backyard gate. My heart pounded in my chest. Atlas growled deep and protective. A loud crash. The back door swung open, and there he was, Luke. His face twisted with some unspoken rage. "I knew you were alone," he hissed. Before I could move, he stepped forward, But Atlas was faster. He lunged, a blur of fur and fury. He sank his teeth into Luke's arm, dragging him down. They wrestled. Growls and screams filled the air. Then Luke pulled a knife. "No!" I screamed. He slashed. Atlas whimpered. Blood bloomed across his side. Rage and desperation surged through me. I grabbed a heavy lamp and swung it into Luke with all my strength. Again and again, until he collapsed. Sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors had heard the chaos. Police rushed in. Luke was taken away in cuffs, bloodied and unconscious. But my eyes were only on Atlas. He lay there, struggling to breathe. I cradled him, whispering, "Please, stay with me, just a little longer." He looked at me one last time, and then he was gone. The silence was deafening. They tried to pull me away, but how could I let him go? He had given everything to protect me. He wasn't just a dog. He was my guardian, my family. Today the house still feels a little empty, but in the quiet, I can still hear his pause, his breathing, feel his presence. Atlas didn't just save my life. He taught me how to live it again. The days after Atlas's death passed in a haze. I barely remember the details. The officers taking my statement, the neighbors offering their condolences, Ethan finally flying home with guilt etched into every line of his face. None of it seemed to matter. The house, once filled with soft paw steps and quiet comfort, now echoed with silence. I couldn't bring myself to move his things. His leash still hung by the door. His water bowl sat untouched in the kitchen. Every morning I instinctively looked for him, expecting to see those bright eyes greeting me, his tail tapping against the floor. But he was gone. Ethan tried to console me, wrapping me in his arms at night, whispering apologies he could never truly fix. "I should have been here," he said over and over, but even he understood. It wasn't him who had kept me safe. It wasn't him who had walked with me through those long, dark nights. It was Atlas. I started dreaming about him, not the trauma of that night, but the quieter memories, his head on my lap, his tail thumping when I walked into a room, the way he'd silently listen as if every word I said mattered. In those dreams, he was happy, whole, at peace. One morning, about 2 weeks after everything happened, I found a letter in the mailbox. No return address, just a small envelope with my name written in simple cursive. Inside was a single piece of paper. Some bonds go beyond words. He didn't just protect you, he chose you. Don't let that kind of love be forgotten. I don't know who sent it. Maybe it was someone from the neighborhood. Maybe one of the officers. Maybe a stranger who heard what happened. But that note changed something in me. I began writing again, journaling my days, my thoughts, the quiet pain and the small steps of healing. And always, Atlas was at the center of those pages. I wrote down everything he did for me, every time he kept me company, every moment he sensed what I couldn't even say out loud. The pain didn't vanish, but it transformed. I started volunteering at a local animal shelter. At first, just a few hours a week, helping with feeding, walking, sitting with scared or anxious dogs. But soon, it became something more. I saw pieces of Atlas in so many of them. The quiet loyalty, the unspoken understanding, the gentleness that most people overlooked. One day I met a young pup named Milo, a timid, scruffy mix of who knows what, with soulful eyes and a cautious nature. He reminded me of how Atlas had once watched me from the corner, silent, patient, waiting for trust to bloom. I didn't plan to adopt another dog. I didn't think I ever could. But Milo had other plans. He followed me around the shelter. He'd curl up beside me when I sat. He'd nudge his nose into my hand just like Atlas used to. And one day, when I was closing up for the night, he did something that shattered my resolve. He leaned into me just once, as if to say, "I'm here too, if you need me." I brought him home that weekend. It wasn't the same. It never could be. Milo wasn't a replacement. He was a new beginning, a new chapter. And in some strange, beautiful way, I think Atlas would have wanted that. Ethan noticed the change in me too. "You seem lighter," he said one morning as we sat on the porch. I smiled, watching Milo chase falling leaves in the yard. "I think I'm learning to breathe again," I said softly. The truth is, I still miss Atlas every single day. There are moments, quiet ones, usually, when I'll glance toward the corner of the room, expecting to see him there. And sometimes, just sometimes, I feel him, in the stillness, in the comfort that creeps back in. He may be gone from this world, but he left something behind, a strength I didn't know I had, a reminder that love isn't always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, a dog who watches over you until his very last breath.